The Townsville Hospital Foundation is a 100% charitable, not-for-profit organisation which is proud to sponsor and support health education on an issue that affects the whole of the community. In this program, you will hear world-renowned neonatologist Dr. John Whitehall promote a message which is important to every young person, healthcare worker and school educator. Fetal alcohol syndrome is widely spread, but so easily avoided. All you need to do is not drink alcohol during pregnancy.
When I grow up, I want to be a tennis player. I want to be a train driver. When I grow up, I want to be an artist. I want to be a motorbike rider. I want to be a builder. I want to be a fairy.
Just wanting to grow up being healthy and strong.
Hello and welcome to the program. All parents want healthy children, but most don't know about the most common drug that can harm their child while the mother is still pregnant: alcohol.
What we know, especially about alcohol and tobacco, is that the development of the brain is interfered with, and there's learning difficulties and behavioural difficulties and things. We know that there's a higher incidence of being born dead, which is called stillbirth, and we also know that there's a higher incidence of sudden infant death.
Alcohol is a very tiny molecule which gets into every cell of your body and can do damage. And the main damage it can do is to the next little person that you're responsible for.
If a pregnant woman drinks, she risks giving her baby brain damage, known as FAS. Have you heard of FAS?
I've never heard of that.
Never heard of that.
Not a clue.
Sounds like slang.
Oh, absolutely nothing. Yeah, same.
Same here.
Have you heard of fetal alcohol syndrome?
So it ends up with like deformities or something?
Yeah, could have something wrong with it.
It destroys the brain before it gets fully developed.
Sounds like younger people with problems with alcohol.
It's that and much more. Don't feel bad about not knowing what fetal alcohol syndrome or FAS is. Not many people do. Yet there is an alarming number of children who suffer from this incurable affliction and grow into adults with major lifetime problems.
When a mother drinks alcohol, it gets absorbed into her bloodstream, and the blood then takes it to the placenta, and then it crosses the placenta and goes in the baby's bloodstream. When the mother drinks, the baby drinks. Now, a funny thing about the baby is it rests in a bag of water called the amniotic fluid. Part of the way the amniotic fluid is formed is that the baby piddles into it, and the unborn baby gets the alcohol in its bloodstream and then piddles it and then drinks it, so that there is a recycling of alcohol in the unborn baby, exposing its brain to the levels of alcohol for a much longer period than in an adult.
Some years ago, Tammy was a typical 20-year-old, enjoying life and parties with her fiancé when she got pregnant with Caitlin. Caitlin has FAS, and because of this, has many of the behavioural problems that take much of the joy out of family relationships, and often drive families apart.
I was 20 when I fell pregnant with Caitlin. I think it was about the third test that came back, said, yes, you're pregnant, and it was quite a shock to the system. Wasn't planned, I was on the pill, but we'd been out partying, we'd been out drinking, having fun, and I actually said to my doctor, but hey, I've been out drinking, you're not supposed to drink while you're pregnant, is that going to be a problem? And he said no. He said, look, that's okay, it'll be okay, there's no dramas, just, cut your drinking down, a couple of drinks here and there while you're pregnant won't harm the baby at all. I've never drank during my pregnancies. I don't believe that that's the right thing to do, so I didn't, and so therefore the only alcohol I had was prior to me finding out I was pregnant. But unfortunately, that's the time it can happen, and in this case it did.
every single school I've gone to, during the start of the year, everything seems to go fine, but then during the middle, towards the end, everything goes wrong, and I find it hard to make and keep friends. Whenever they finally put trust in me, I always get really excited, then I do something wrong and they don't like me, and it gets really hard. I can't do two things at once. When people ask me to do something and then ask me to do another, I get frustrated and I lose control and I scream and my fists clench up and I just feel like punching something. And I always think that I'm really tough, and when it comes to fights, I always say that I'm really tough, but really I'm not. My sister's a good person and I take everything out on her. I try to say sorry, but she pushes me back and it hurts.
The people that I have talked to and mentioned that we believe Caitlin's got FAS have all said to me, well, she can't have. It's like, pardon me, why can't she? They said, because she doesn't have the physical characteristics of it. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And they showed me, and I said, yeah, but if you read into it and you look into the research, a lot of these kids don't. A lot of them don't have the physical characteristics of a typical FAS child. And I think that's really important too for people to understand, is that whilst the children may look normal, like a normal 12-year-old or a normal 8-year-old or a normal 16-year-old, these kids do have it. And I think it's really important. And I think it's really important for doctors especially to understand that it's not just the physical characteristics you're looking at.
So, strictly speaking, from a medical definition, fetal alcohol syndrome implies that the head is underformed and small, and that there are certain facial characteristics because the baby has been exposed to alcohol at that particular stage of development. Now, once the face gets laid down and those organs are formed, the brain, however, in the remaining 6 months of pregnancy, say, the brain continues to form even though the face is now maybe normal. So the mother may not drink enough to have the characteristic facial signs early in pregnancy, but the continued drinking will interfere with the continued development of the brain. So these people may look normal, but their brain doesn't function normally because it's been damaged. Now, that may in fact not show up for many years.
Anne was an abused child and had a drinking problem when she was a young adult. She has 2 adult children with fetal alcohol syndrome disorder, with her youngest, Seth, having FAS, and who has a particularly difficult life.
For a long time while my sons were little, my youngest son particularly, I don't know how I coped. I don't know how I got up every morning and went to bed every night knowing that this could be the last time I ever see Seth. He was so out of control. He would get out of windows at night, go roaming around. I'd be sitting up till 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning before he came home, and he was only 13. He was into sex, he was into drugs and alcohol, and really he just went wild. And I just can't even describe the pain and frustration and of having a child who was doing these things, basically slowly killing himself with the things that he was doing, and not know why. And that was half the problem. When I actually found out what the reasons were, I was distraught, as you can imagine. I didn't think that there was anything that a mum could do to equal the awfulness of this. It was like running over my child in the driveway and giving him a brain injury. As unintentional as it was, it makes no difference to the way I feel. Most mothers want their child to be happy and healthy, And I've done the very thing that I hoped would never happen to my children. I didn't want them to go through the same dysfunctional cycle that my family and my family's generations before. I did something worse. I didn't just abuse them, but they actually have a brain injury because of my drinking.
I was only in school till year 10. I left just before year 10 finished, and it was not the greatest during my school years. I had a fair few problems, along with my friends. I lost a lot of friends while I was there, and after I got diagnosed, I started going on medication, and that was calming me down. Like, I was starting to sit down and actually concentrate at school. You know, I was actually taking things in. Beforehand, before I was on the medication, it was hard for me to take more than one thing in at a time. I just wouldn't end up doing them and get in trouble for it, you know. Like, I can't really see much into the future. I don't really understand what I'll be doing in the future, but all I can hope for is just a good life, to calm down and have a family, and financially secure, and no problems really to worry about. I mean, we're all going to have problems, but not the ones that I've been dealing with in the past. So.
It definitely takes a lot of thought just to be able to move through, you know, general little arguments that a relationship would have. It takes a lot of time to move through those sort of things smoothly. There is a government report that specifies that it is all right to have 1 or 2 drinks while you're pregnant a day or in a week. I don't support this at all. You know, Seth is obviously living proof of the damage that this can do, and if only people could know about this, they would see too, and it'd be more easier for them to make their own decision rather than just have a doctor tell them it's okay and then they can just go and drink. If they knew for themselves, I really don't think that they would be drinking while they're pregnant.
I can't imagine that anything would equal knowing that I was the cause of that condition now in my boys that takes up their whole life. It completely affects every part of their life, their social, employment, relationship, mental health, physical health, everything.
Anne has written 2 incredibly moving and informative books about her experiences. So there's more information about these on this DVD. Foster parents are amazing people and take on difficult children into caring and loving homes, and seem to have a wonderful abundance of tolerance and patience. Sue, a mother of 3, had years of heartache not knowing why her foster child was different.
My interest in fetal alcohol syndrome, I suppose, really began when we fostered our now 26-year-old daughter when she was only 21 months old. And she came into our home, and as a really beautiful, cute little toddler, but we noticed that she was learning and behaving differently from our other children. And our other children I had 3 other children, so I sort of felt I had a little bit of knowledge about parenting, but my parenting techniques weren't working with her. And so that's when we sort of knew that something was amiss, and I felt there needed to be a key to unlock her way of learning, because I realised it was different from my other children's way of learning. But I read an article in a magazine when she was about 10 years old, and it was about a young laddie in America who had fetal alcohol syndrome, and it sort of hit me in the face. They were talking about my daughter, and I felt, right, we've found the key, I can unlock this puzzle. By the time Lola was 17, the gap between her and her peers got much, much wider. She started experiencing a lot of trouble at school. She really wasn't understanding the schoolwork. She was having difficulty with her friendships. What I know now is children with FASD aren't able to take responsibility for their actions. It's not that they don't want to, they aren't able to because they can't make those links in the brain.
Nerily is another amazing foster mum who has taken the FAS issues to heart.
The struggle with children with FASD or fetal alcohol effects is that they don't learn from their mistakes, and both with Brendan and Claire we have that continually. You can repeat yourself 10 times within 5 minutes and they still won't get it. They will also, if you're busy doing something or perhaps holding a basket of eggs that you're about to drop, they would watch you do it. They wouldn't go and try and help save the eggs. They'd just blank out and you would end up dropping them. It's hard, and they get very angry sometimes because they like the comfort zone as what they've always had of being able to blank out and do nothing. They need very clear directives and guidelines, and they need it continually. They need happy people that not get angry with them, because anger just brings on more problems. So you've got to stay calm, count to 10 many, many times. Otherwise you lose them, and it's just overload for them and they can't cope.
At first, I thought that FASD was sort of like ADHD, but it turned out to be worse. I get blankouts. It's hard for me not to be annoying at school. That's why kids beat me up, shall I say, because I am annoying as hell. And that's been going on from primary to high school now. And as my dad said, you can only count your true friends on one hand, and at the moment, I don't really think I have any true friends because of this.
In a school setting, for instance, they may not do as they're told, or they just don't fit in, or they hate transitions, hate any changes. They're not learning the material. They can be loud and shout, all the behaviours that get them into trouble. And sometimes, you know, they are difficult to handle, and you need to have a set way of handling these children. As teenagers, they can start to get sometimes a little bit aggressive, and in the foster care association, there have been parents who've kept the children for a certain time, and once they reached 12, 13, 14, they couldn't handle them any longer, and have had to, for the safety of their other children or for the family, had to return them to foster care somewhere else or to a home, which is very sad.
Well, I found out because I was living with a family friend narrowly, because my parents basically kicked me out of the house, and she could tell that my brother and I had problems because whenever she asked us to do something, we wouldn't understand, and we'd just stand in one place and for ages, and we knew that we weren't like other kids. And I found out because she had gradually found out about it, but she said that she might know what's wrong with us. And then in the end, when she was sure, she got our paediatrician, and he said that we have fetal alcohol syndrome because our mother drank when she was pregnant with both my brother and I. Like, I have a daily routine, but if I learn something new, I can't really cope. And also I can be defiant. I can get stressed or angry easily. With my brother, I have a good relationship with him, because it's sort of like, because he has FAS too, and we like have lots of things in common because we share the same like disability, and yeah.
When a pregnant woman drinks alcohol, she can cause serious brain damage to her unborn baby.
Having a drink is a social activity that most of us enjoy from time to time, and in moderation may not be a bad thing. But there is an increasing number of young women who are binge drinking or drinking too often. There is absolutely nothing good for your general health with these activities, and in fact, there are many bad effects. But if there is a possibility you can get pregnant or are already pregnant, now is the time to stop drinking.
Would you buy your baby a drink at the pub? Of course not. So why give it to your unborn child?
Damage from alcohol is more common than people realise, including attention deficit disorder, heart problems, hyperactivity, and nervous system damage.
So what is a safe amount of alcohol a woman can drink while she is pregnant?
The best thing, of course, is don't drink anything. You will avoid that. You will have a healthy person. You will give birth to a healthy person. And that is a treasure.
All I can say is just don't touch the alcohol whatsoever. I mean, for your whole life, it's good not to touch alcohol, but I mean, if you have to, that's fine, but just not while you're pregnant.
If you are going to become pregnant, or you think you might become pregnant, or you are pregnant, you need to stop drinking straight away, or don't drink at all. And of course, by not drinking, that's the safest measure to take.
Throughout their lives, it'll still be with them from when they're born to the day they die, so it's a life-changing thing.
Fetal alcohol is totally preventable. If you don't get your hands on alcohol, then it's safe and your baby will be healthy.
The question then is how much alcohol a mother can consume in a regular basis throughout pregnancy. And the issue is nobody knows of a safe level. But what is known is that in laboratory experiments from mice to monkeys, that there is permanent damage done by the consumption of, say, 1 glass a day. So if the evidence is there in the laboratory animals, and there is some evidence in a human that 1 glass a day does this to you, my opinion is there is no safe level. It's better not to drink at all.
If you'd like to see more of the people who were interviewed for this program, there are longer versions of their story on this DVD. So what can you do about FAS? Tell your friends and family about the risks of drinking alcohol during pregnancy. If you want to drink, then don't get pregnant. Use contraception. Then you can be sure that you won't have a baby with fetal alcohol syndrome.
When I'm going to grow up, I'm going to be a princess. When I grow up, I would like to be a zookeeper. When I grow up, I want to be a WWE wrestler. I want to be a ballet dancer. I want to be a rock star when I grow up.